Hello and welcome to Who Is Best, a show where I, Claudine, take games to give you choices and rate those choices in a tier list. Become a part of the Low Cloud family today by hitting that subscribe button and bell for notifications. Fire Emblem games are about characters. The narrative, the gameplay, the entire experience is about characters. There isn't a series out there that can compete with the sheer amount of memorable party members. Whether it's the incredibly popular Marth, the underappreciated Guy, the babe-tastic Claire, or the alluring Tharja, you will always find something here for everyone. And Fire Emblem Three Houses is no exception to this. But the real question is, who is the best character to choose for your playthrough? Especially in the harder difficulties, character choice is pivotal. Now the structure of Three Houses is just that. There are 3 houses, and you must choose one at the beginning of your playthrough. Most characters can be recruited to whatever house you choose, so we'll be taking that into account as well. Also, don't forget to watch our list on the best classes in Three Houses as well. Stick around till the end where we'll reveal the best houses to choose and a bonus list, and let's get started with the tier. First up on the tier is Gilbert. Being a Knight of Seiros, you can only recruit him in the second half of the game, and only if you choose certain routes. He's fine as a tank, but not much else. Next is Raphael. As a tank, Raphael is a terrible choice due to terrible growths and stats as well as skills. Lorenz has nearly as bad of stats as Raphael, but has Frozen Lance, which might make him just a tiny bit better. Manuela is, she's well-rounded. Unlike everyone on this list so far, she can be reclassed fairly easy, but I wouldn't bother. She's a late game unit that stands no chance of competing with the rest of this list. Hanuman is a low ranked magic user who is acquired late in the game and suffers from a massive stat deficiency. The final member of the low tier is Anna. She simply just has no utility whatsoever. There are no redeeming factors other than being available. The low tier. Alois gets absolutely walloped in the end game when it comes to stats. As an armor knight, he can be just a little more useful than the tier. A relic weapon and some simple support abilities save Balthus from the tier, but just barely. Alright, don't kill me. Bernadetta is not good. Yes, she can class to Sniper or Bow Knight, which are top tier classes, but her unfortunate skill that requires her to be damaged, coupled with a complete lack of defensive stats, just makes her so much less effective than other units. Ash suffers the same fate as Bernadetta. He can class to upper tier bow wielders, but has terrible skills and stats that make him horrible on the battlefield. Ignatz would be in the mid tier if he wasn't such a horrible bow user. Everything else stacks up for him in this way, and if the devs hadn't mistakenly made him effectively useless, then you would have a decent unit. Caspar as an offensive buffer can be highly effective, but as a frontliner, he is going to be one of the worst choices. The dude will always be a better unit in every way. Alright, we're splitting the mid tier into 2 parts, so we'll start with the lower mid tier. Yuri was built as a trickster, and if you are pursuing any other role, you will be disappointed. But as a trickster, he can be highly effective for helping units be mobile on the field. Happy, though an absolute babe, is unfortunately a statistical nightmare. If her sheer godlike spell list was coupled with the stats of Lysithea, then you would have the single best unit in the game. As far as healers go, Flane is one of the less advantageous choices. She is a good support, but is outpaced easily by almost everyone else. Jeritza and Setith are both great units that can't be customized and are gained late in your playthrough. Setith especially can be effective as he makes an above average flying unit. The upper mid tier. Catherine is a statistically well-rounded fighter with the ability to promote to Falcon Knight and wreak havoc. There are better choices out there though, so she stays in the upper mid tier. Though she's a late bloomer, Ingrid makes for a solid mounted unit with the potential to be an effective Falcon Knight. Although her damage can be low, high speed, avoidance, and attack buffs make up for it. Mercedes, like Ingrid, is a late bloomer. She can be an above average healer once an A rank is obtained, but until then, she will need to be carried through the early and mid game. Sylvain with some lucky stat growths can be an effective endgame unit, but only if he's built right. Any deviation and he'll fall off in usefulness. Same as Sylvain, Cyril requires careful investment to be effective in the endgame. Hubert is one of the better magic users in Three Houses. He'll be a pivotal unit in the early to mid game, but he does tend to fall off in the endgame. That and his exclusivity to the Black Eagle route leaves him in the upper mid tier. Hilda can be made into one of the best Falcon Knights in the game aside from Petra and has one of the highest strength stats in Three Houses. She would be top tier if she wasn't restricted to 2 of the 3 houses, and thus isn't as accessible as other units. Constance is the best DLC character in both stats and class choice. She makes for an ideal Dark Flyer, which is one of the best magic classes in the game. But aside from that, she can't do or be much else. Shamir rivals Lysithea in sheer nuclear power. As a sniper, she is capable of obliterating enemies at a distance. She makes for one of the best bow users in Three Houses. Dorothea is the optimal dancer as her abilities and stats perfectly complement that build. As a magic user, she's also effective, though she'll struggle in the early game. Marianne. Marianne needs to be put on a mount as soon as possible. She is incredibly effective as a Falcon Knight, Valkyrie, and Holy Knight. She also makes the second best dancer. Ultimately though, Marianne makes the best White Knight possible in the game. Well, almost. Annette's rally skill sets her at the top of the upper mid tier. When paired with your strongest physical troops like Byleth or Dedue, her effectiveness can't be understated. She does struggle in the spell department, but that's not even that important when rally is considered. The top tier. I want to take a moment to recognize the passing of Billy Kametz, who died of colon cancer in 2022. He voiced a dozen characters like Nenji Ogata from 13 Sentinels, the White Blood Cell in Cells at Work, and the next character on this list, Ferdinand von Eiger. May he rest in peace. Ferdinand will make one of the best paladins or wyvern lords in the game and doesn't need to be as heavily managed to get there. Although he doesn't have a relic, he does have incredibly high defense, making him durable as a frontliner. Dedue will be one of your best male units throughout your entire playthrough. As a War Master, he will make both a top-tier offensive and defensive unit, often taking out enemies with a single blow. Linhardt is... oh my gosh, I hate saying this. Linhardt is a better Marianne. He can be one of your best healers while also being a top-tier offensive unit as well. If he had Fortify and had better mobility, he might have almost made it to the God tier. Felix is destined to be a Mortal Savant with exceptional sword and magic abilities. Unfortunately, Mortal Savant is a terrible class. So why is he on the top tier? Well, with some careful planning, Felix can become an incredibly fast and tanky Bow Knight, which is one of the best classes in the game. Leonie is the single best Bow Knight in Three Houses and can be so effortlessly. Her stats, growths, and skills all complement this build, to the point that you would be crazy to take her in any other direction. Petra is insane. She is top tier in any class you set her as. I think there's a natural reaction to make her an assassin, and again, she'd still be top tier. But where Petra truly rains down destruction on the enemy lines is as a Wyvern Lord or Falcon Knight. She'll dish out high damage and will be almost impossible to hit. Add on the mobility of flying units and you have an absolute beast. Dimitri, aside from Byleth, is statistically the best character in the game. His greatest downfall is the lack of class choices. Many of the best classes are not attainable to Dimitri, so he's best left in his unique class, Great Lord. Thrown out into the front lines, he'll mow down any enemy that dares to attack him. The final member of the top tier is Male Byleth. Yes, the gender matters here. Male Byleth's biggest weakness is that in order to be a flying unit, you have to invest heavily in axes. That being said, as the Enlightened one, he can still be destructive. As long as you have someone supporting him with Warp, Male Byleth can slaughter almost any enemy. The God tier. First up on the God tier is the single best magic user in the game with absolutely no contest whatsoever, Lysithea. As a pure offensive mage, Lysithea demolishes all the competition. She can nuke enemies from anywhere in the battlefield, and will often do so before any of your other units get there. Edelgard is a statistical powerhouse, and makes the best Wyvern Lord in the game. Yes, she can also be a powerful Emperor, but the mobility is a huge issue here, as she so easily fits into the Wyvern Lord class. Female Byleth is optimal over her male counterpart due to being able to easily access Falcon Knight. Throw on the best stats and skills in the game and you have the single best Falcon Knight in Fire Emblem Three Houses, possibly in the entire series. The final member on this list and top of the god tier is Claude. He's simply untouchable. As a bow-wielding Wyvern Lord with extremely high stats and top tier skills, he has the greatest ability to nuke enemies from afar of any unit in the game. Barbossa is simply incredible. Now, as far as the best house to choose for a hard or maddening playthrough, really, Blue Lions and Golden Deer tie. The Blue Lions hold some of the best units in the game, and you would only need to recruit a handful of outsiders. But Golden Deer has the absolutely broken Claude, and would only need to recruit a few key members to be just as broken. If anything, the Blue Lions come out in front slightly due to having the ability to gain all relics. Either way, you can't make a bad choice. And that's our list. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch y'all later. Bonus round. Top 10 Fire Emblem Three Houses waifus and husbandos. Number 10, Ingrid. Number 9, Mercedes. Number 8, Edelgard. Number 7, Petra. Number 6, Bernadette. Number 5, Shamir. Number 4, Happy. Number 3, Hilda. Number 2, Female Byleth. And number 1 is Marianne. Hottest guy? Lorenz, obviously.